Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom.
All praise to the Most High. Bishop Kani in Atlanta. Captain Isaac in Atlanta. All praises. All praise to the Most High, man. Hey, definitely sending up prayers for all the brothers and sisters in the body all over the world who are failing ill to Esau's devices. You know, that mosquito bite. Engineered mosquito bite. Send up, keep each other in prayer, man. And also for those who are traveling, keep the body in prayer, constant prayer that the Lord can heal the nation of Israel, y'all. All right. Bishop Kani about to bring a fire class. Y'all ready? Are you ready? All right. All praise to the Most High. All praises. About to guess.
One, two, three, four. Hey, shalom, family. Most High Christ bless you all. Happy Sabbath. All right. For those online listening, happy Sabbath. Today's class is entitled Empires from Assyria to Persia. Now, I don't know if we're going to get through all this today. Well, this is part one, so we're not going to get through all of it. For those of you that love history, you would love the class. And for those of you that don't love history, I don't know what to tell you. You know, things are written aforetime was written for our learning. So the class came about. First off, you start up. It came about because we always talk a lot of times. I can't say always, but about the Babylonian captivity. We hear about the Persian and Medes, but we don't too tough on myself. Which way you want me to go? Right here. That's good. Okay, good. Yeah, but we don't talk too tough concerning the Assyrian and when Northern Kingdom went into captivity. We'll touch upon it, but I want to dig into it a little bit. And I think Deacon Athan touched on it a lot, but a couple things I want to bring out, all right? Okay, so Israel. Let's go to the book of 2 Kings. Real quick, Kani, where you at? Okay, you send the maps? Do they have it yet? Okay, so let's begin in 2 Kings 15 and verse 17.
2 Kings chapter 15, verse 17. In the 39th year of Azariah, king of Judah, began Menahem, the son of Gadai, to reign over Israel, and reigned 10 years in Samaria. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not all his days from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. And Pul, the king of Assyria, came against the land, and Menahem gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver, that his hand might be with him to confirm the kingdom in his hand. And Menahem exacted the money of Israel, even of all the mighty men of wealth, of each man 50 shekels of silver, to give to the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria turned back and stayed not there in the land.
Okay, so this is where it began, the fall of Israel. It began in the time of King Menahem. He was a wicked king, and when we read in what verse we started with, 17, read verse 18.
Yes, sir. Verse 18. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not all his days from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin.
So he did not deviate from the sins of Jeroboam. Jeroboam was the king of Israel when the kingdom split. I don't want to go back there to begin the class because then it'll just I'll keep on going further and further back. But the kingdom split in the time of Rehoboam, which was Solomon's son, and Jeroboam, who was the head of the northern kingdom. All right? So we're going to read a little bit about those sins. Let's go to the book of 1 Kings, chapter 12. I got the orange mic.
1, 2.
1, 2. Okay. 1 Kings 12, verse 25.
1 Kings chapter 12, verse 25. Then Jeroboam built Shechem in Mount Ephraim and dwelt therein, and went out from thence and built Penuel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Rehoboam, king of Judah, and they shall kill me and go again to Rehoboam, king of Judah.
So he was worried. He said, these people are going to return back to Rehoboam. He said, they're going to go back to Jerusalem to sacrifice and keep the laws. So what did he do? Read.
Verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
He said, behold your gods, Israel, that have brought you up out of the land of Egypt. So if you remember the history, when we came out of Egypt, we were in the wilderness, and we began to worship. We made calves of gold and began to practice idolatry. Now, let me ask you a question, men. You think that's enough to make 2 calves and everybody say, to hell with the laws of God? You don't think that you need a little more than that? What does it mean when he talks about he made 2 calves? What did they begin to practice? Nobody knows? All right, right there.
Shalom leadership. This was sacrificing their kids.
Okay, that's part of it, but okay, yeah, that's part of it. You're right. You're right. Something else. Do I know? Right there.
Idolatry?
Yeah. Yes, but I'm trying to get you. What's the draw? What's the advantage of worshiping these 2 bulls? Sex. Okay, let's just get to the point. Sex. It was sexual immorality. They began to do orgies. That's what it says. They rose up and play. I don't want to make that the class because it's going to take me too far away. So he said, okay, you all stay up here. We're going to fornicate. And don't worry, you don't need to go to Jerusalem. So the people stayed back. Let's read on.
Verse 29. And he set the one in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan.
Right. So what did he do? These people forgot Jerusalem, and they went to worship. Now watch this. Let's go back. Let's go back real quick. 2 Kings 15, and what verse did we leave off at? Verse 19.
2 Kings chapter 15, verse 19. And Pul, the king of Assyria, came against the land, and Menahem gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver, that his hand might be with him, to confirm the kingdom in his hand.
Now this man, Pul, was Tiglath-Pileser. All right, same person. Right. So Menahem now was brought under tribute. So what happened? Tiglath-Pileser, can you pull up a map real quick? I want to show you all something. Is that the one I sent you, Kani? No, give me the first one. Yeah, that one right there. That's good. I want to show you how vast the Assyrian Empire was. The Assyrian Empire wasn't small. This was, can the people online see it? Okay, good. Okay, I want you to zoom in on the darker green area. A little more. A little more. All right. No, I'm having a problem. Okay, there you go. You see Nineveh? The red dot? Nineveh, and below that, Ashur were the two capital cities. We read about Nineveh where in the Bible? Who knows? Who's the prophet? Just say it out loud. Jonah. Jonah, very good, all right? So they began to leave the map there, go westward, this kingdom, and pull the map down a little bit. A little more. No, another way, I'm sorry. Go up if that's the case. I want to see Egypt. Right there. Now let's go to Jerusalem. Just stay right there. What was important about the land, that area right there, all up and down from Arvad right down, what was important about that land is it was perfect to stage war against the other superpower, which was Egypt. And Egypt wanted it. If they want to stage a war against Assyria, they would need that land because you're not going to carry all your supplies with you all the way someplace. You have to have a place where you store stuff and you come back. And then you had access to the sea coast so you could bring in ships. So we were in the middle. And we're going to get to the point concerning Egypt in a second, where everybody fought for that piece, that plot of land right there, where we dwelt in. All right? So pull. Back in 2 Kings 15, verse 19.
Yes, sir. Verse 19. And Pul, the king of Assyria, came against the land. And Menahem gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver, that his hand might be with him, to confirm the kingdom in his hand. And Menahem exacted the money of Israel, even of all the mighty men of wealth, of each man 50 shekels of silver, to give to the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria turned back and stayed not there in the land.
So because Menahem paid, and let's keep that map there, because Menahem paid, so you want to zoom in on Assyria a little bit? There you go. You see Samaria above, right by the water, by the Mediterranean Sea? Put you right there. Okay. It's further apart than it looks on the map. But this is where the king of Assyria, Tiglath-Pileser, came down. This was the first king of the Assyrian Empire that's recorded in the scriptures. Now, there was kings before him, but we're just going to deal with the ones that's recorded in the Bible. He came from Nineveh and these areas that he controlled, and he came down, and he came as far as Samaria. And because Menahem gave him tribute, he pulled back. He got the money. All right? Jump from that to 1 Chronicles chapter 5. So when you read the history, a lot of times, a lot of it is redundant. When you read the book of Chronicles, it's just going to give you a lot of what we read before. When you read the prophets, you're going to see they're going to repeat a lot of things because a lot of these history we're going to read in Chronicles, the prophets Isaiah, many of them spoke about it. 1 Kings 5, verse 6.
1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 6. Birah, his son, whom Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, carried away captive. He was prince of the Reubenites, and his brethren by their families, when the genealogy of their generations was reckoned, were the chief Jael and Zechariah, and Belah, the son of Azaz, the son of Shema, the son of Joel, who dwelt in Aroer, even unto Nebo and Baal-meon. And eastward he inhabited unto the entering in of the wilderness from the river Euphrates, because their cattle were multiplied in the land of Gilead.
That's how far it went. All the way down to the river Euphrates, which would be the Fertile Crescent. You see right there with Babylon, those two lines going upwards. You have one that's the Tigris River to the right, and to the left is the Euphrates, all right? So here's the point I want to make. So when he pulled back, Tiglath-Pileser, he did take, in verse 6, read that.
Verse 6, Birah, his son, whom Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, carried away captive, he was prince of the Reubenites.
So he took some of the people, some of the princes, he took them away into captivity. This was the beginning of the fall of the northern kingdom. And it wasn't until we get further in we're going to see what happened when Salmanasseh came back and continued the conquest. So stay in the same chapter. I'm going to jump on down to verse 18.
Verse 18, the sons of Reuben and the Gadites and half the tribe of Manasseh, of valiant men, men able to bear buckler and sword, and to shoot with bow and skillful in war, were 44,703 that went out to the war. And they made war with the Hagarites, with Jetor and Nephish and Nodab. And they were helped against them. And the Hagarites were delivered into their hand, and all that were with them. For they cried to God in the battle, and he was entreated of them, because they put their trust in him. And they took away their cattle, of their camels 50,000, and of sheep 250,000, and of asses 2,000, and of men 100,000. For there fell down many slain, because the war was of God, and they dwelt in their steads until the captivity.
So even though Assyria came down and took some of them, we still had an army. And our army was taking all these lands, the northern kingdom, all these people there were taken into captivity. But watch this, verse 23.
Verse 23, and the children of the half tribe of Manasseh dwelt in the land. They increased from Bashan until Baal Hermon and Sinir, and unto Mount Hermon. And these were the heads of the house of their fathers, even Epher, and Ishi, and Eliel, and Azariel, and Jeremiah, and Hodaviah, and Jadiel, mighty men of valor, famous men, and heads of the house of their fathers.
Read.
And they transgressed against the God of their fathers.
But we sinned against God. Read on.
And went a-whoring after the gods of the people of the land, whom God destroyed before them. And the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser.
So Pul is Tiglath-Pileser. So because they didn't learn when they went into tribute, they continued into idolatry. God raised up Tiglath-Pileser's spirit again. And what happened? Read on.
And the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria. And he carried them away, even the Reubenites, and the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Halah, and Habor, and Harah, and to the river Gozan unto this day.
So you had Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh taken away into captivity by Tiglath-Pileser. All right? Watch this. So we're going to go to Isaiah. Isaiah 7. Verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 1. And it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up toward Jerusalem to war against it.
So now, northern kingdom is beginning to fall, but they paired themselves with the king of Syria. Now, Syria is not Assyria, all right? Two different kingdoms. Assyria is small fries to Assyria. And they partnered with them to go up against Judah, or Jerusalem, I should say. Read on.
But could not prevail against it. And it was told the house of David, saying, Syria is confederate with Ephraim, and his heart was moved, and the heart of his people, as the trees of the wood are moved with the wind. Then said the Lord unto Isaiah, Go forth now to meet Ahaz, thou and Shearjashub, thy son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool in the highway of the fuller's field. And say unto him, Take heed and be quiet, Fear not, neither be faint-hearted, for the two tails of these smoking firebrands, for the fierce anger of reason with Syria and of the son of Remaliah.
So those two tails are Syria and Northern Kingdom. Read on.
Because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have taken evil counsel against thee, saying, let us go up against Judah and vex it, and let us make a breach therein for us, and set a king in the midst of it, even the son of Tabiel. Thus saith the Lord God, it shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass. For the head of Syria is Damascus.
So the head of Syria, the capital is Damascus. Is Damascus on that map? It should be right there. Okay, see Damascus? That's where Syria dwelt. All right? So the head of Syria is Damascus. That's the capital. Read on.
And the head of Damascus is Rezin.
And Rezin, or Rezin, is the head of Damascus. He was the king. Read on.
And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people.
He said, listen, don't worry. Nothing's going to happen, Judah, or southern kingdom. He said, Rezin's going to be destroyed, and in 65 years, Ephraim won't even be there anymore. So we saw the decline of the northern kingdom beginning with Tiglath-Pileser, right? Now we're going to go from here, after we read that. 2 Kings 16. So I'm jumping back and forth, and the purpose of this is to help formulate the thoughts in your mind to understand that when you read Kings and Chronicles, Isaiah, and many of the prophets were around during these times, all right? Sometime we'll read Isaiah, but we won't attach him to the kings that were walking the earth with him. 2 Kings 16, start with verse 1.
2 Kings chapter 16 and verse 1. In the 17th year of Pekah, the son of Remaliah, Ahaz, the son of Jotham, king of Judah, began to reign. 20 years old was Ahaz when he began to reign, and reigned 16 years in Jerusalem, and did not that which was right in the sight of the Lord his God, like David his father. But he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, yea, and made his son to pass through the fire, according to the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel.
So it said he made their children to pass through the fire. What does that mean, pass? What did they do? Who knows? Right there, right there.
Shalom, leadership, Most High Christ bless, to sacrifice their kids.
Right. They actually burnt their kids to death. Where is that in Ezekiel? Somebody quoted before. Where's that in Ezekiel? Okay, thank you. Isaiah 16. No, Ezekiel 16, I should say. We're going to come right back here, so hold this place.
Yes, sir. Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 20. Moreover, thou hast taken thy sons and thy daughters, whom thou hast borne unto me, and these hast thou sacrificed unto them to be devoured. Is this of thy whoredoms a small matter, that thou hast slain my children and delivered them to cause them to pass through the fire for them?
So watch this. Verse 20. Moreover, thou hast taken thy sons and thy daughters, whom thou hast borne unto me, and these have thou sacrificed unto them to be devoured. Is this of thy whoredoms a small matter? No. Read on.
Verse 21. That thou hast slain my children and delivered them to cause them to pass through the fire for them?
Read on.
And in all thine abominations and thy whoredoms, thou hast not remembered the days of thy youth, when thou wast naked and bare, and was polluted in thy blood. And it came to pass, after all thy wickedness, woe, woe unto thee, saith the Lord God.
He said that he means destruction. Now, the reason why I read that in Ezekiel, because Ezekiel came far after. Ezekiel was a prophet during the time of Babylon. But the same practices that was happening in Northern Kingdom, Judah continued on with them. And the Lord eventually sent other men, other kings, to destroy Judah. All right. So let's go back to 2 Kings 16.
Yes, sir.
What verse did we leave off at?
We read verse 3.
All right, read on.
Verse 4. And he sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places, and on the hills, and under every green tree. Then Rezin, king of Syria, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, came up to Jerusalem to war, and they besieged Ahaz, but could not overcome him.
That's what we're reading in Isaiah. These same ones came up, but they could not. They came to besiege it, but they could not overcome it. Read on.
At that time, Rezin, king of Syria, recovered Elath to Syria, and drave the Jews from Elath. And the Syrians came to Elath and dwelt there unto this day.
Read.
So Ahaz sent messengers to Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, saying, I am thy servant and thy son. Come up and save me out of the hand of the king of Syria, and out of the hand of the king of Israel, which rise up against me. And Ahaz took the silver and gold that was found in the house of the Lord, and in the treasures of the king's house, and sent it for a present to the king of Assyria. And the king of Assyria hearkened unto him. For the king of Assyria went up against Damascus and took it, and carried the people of it captive to Kir, and slew Rezin.
So now we read in Isaiah 7 when it talked about Rezin, and let's go back real quick. I'm sorry. Isaiah 7, when it's, I don't want to quote it wrong. When it says in Isaiah 7, when it says, verse 7 to 7.
Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 7. Thus saith the Lord God, it shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass.
Why didn't it come to pass? Based on what we just read in 2 Kings 16. Because they called on Tiglath-Pileser. Tiglath-Pileser was the king that came down, and he killed Rezin. And that's why he said, in 65 years, Ephraim won't even be a people. So we're going to move on from there. Let's go to the book of Hosea. We're going to bring up the prophets that were during this time period. The book of Hosea. Bear with me. Watch this. Hosea chapter 1, verse 1.
Hosea chapter 1, verse 1. The word of the Lord that came unto Hosea, the son of Berah, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel.
So I want you to hold this. We're going to come right back here. Read Isaiah 1 and 1.
Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah.
So we know for surety that Isaiah and Hosea were prophets walking in the same time period, right? Okay, let go Isaiah, hold on to Hosea, go to the book of Micah. Micah 1 and 1.
Micah chapter 1, verse 1. The word of the Lord that came to Micah, the Morashthite, in the days of Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, which he saw concerning Samaria and Jerusalem.
So now we know that the prophet Micah was walking along with Hosea and Isaiah in the same time period. Now watch this. I want to read, keep on reading on.
Verse 2. Hear, all ye people, hearken, O earth, and all that therein is, and let the Lord God be witness against you, the Lord from his holy temple. For, behold, the Lord cometh forth out of his place, and will come down, and tread upon the high places of the earth. And the mountains shall be molten under him, and the valleys shall be cleft, as wax before the fire, and as the waters that are poured down a steep place. For the transgression of Jacob is all this, and for the sins of the house of Israel. What is the transgression of Jacob? Is it not Samaria? And what are the high places of Judah? Are they not Jerusalem? Therefore, I will make Samaria as an heap of the field, and as plantings of a vineyard. And I will pour down the stones thereof into the valley, and I will discover the foundations thereof.
Read on.
And all the graven images thereof shall be beaten to pieces, and all the hires thereof shall be burned with the fire, and all the idols thereof will I lay desolate. For she gathered it of the hire of an harlot, and they shall return to the hire of an harlot.
So he said in verse 6, therefore I will make Samaria as a heap of the field, and the plantings of a vineyard, and I will pour down the stones thereof into the valley. I will discover the foundations of it. What is he talking about? Them falling. Now watch this. Stable. Go to the book of Hosea. I'm sorry, go to the book of Isaiah, I should say. Isaiah, I want to go to Isaiah 1. Isaiah 1, verse 1, and then we're going to jump on down.
Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah.
So now look, he said this is what he saw in his days concerning Judah and Jerusalem. He's giving him foreknowledge. He's warning Judah, this is what I see is going to happen to you. This is the vision. Verse 8.
Verse 8. And the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city.
He said, I see Jerusalem as a besieged city. This was warning for them. Jump to verse 16.
Verse 16. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Come now, and let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If ye be willing and obedient, ye shall eat the good of the land. But if ye refuse and rebel, ye shall be devoured with the sword, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken it.
So he was giving them warning. If you don't change, what's going to happen to you is the same thing that happened to the northern kingdom. So let's go back real quick. I want to go to 2 Kings 17. Second Kings 17, verse 1.
2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 1. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years.
Read on.
And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents.
So now, Tiglath-Pileser, he's gone now. Shalmaneser is the next king of the Assyrians that rose. Read on.
Verse 4.
No, verse 3 again. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Verse 3. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents.
Read on.
And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore, the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison.
So why was he sending presents to the king of Egypt? Who can deduce what he was trying to do? Yeah, answer. No.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Shalom, Bishop. He was trying to get Egypt on his side to eventually go into war with him.
Right. He was looking for an ally.
Yes, sir.
So he said, you know what? I'm gonna give King So gifts to try to win him over. I'm gonna lean on him. Now watch this. Who were the prophets walking in this time? Name some of them. Isaiah was one of them too, right? Okay. Read on.
Verse 5. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes.
Now this is when Salmanasseh took the rest of the tribes away. Go back to that map. All right. Now read that verse again.
Verse 6. And in the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes.
Okay, you see the river Gozan right there? Up there, it's in the dark green area between Haran, right there. Okay, this is the region he took them over to. All right? He moved them away out of the land. The other 9, the rest of the northern kingdom was carried away in the time of Salmanasseh. All right? Read on down.
Verse 7. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city.
Okay, so it says, and the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. Where else do we read that? They did things secretly. And what is the things they did secretly? And they built them high places in all their cities. Where else do we read that? Who knows? The young man right here with his hand raised. I'm sorry. I didn't see you over there. Good. No, you got him. That's him.
Shalom leadership. Was it Micah 1 and 5?
What does it say? Let's go.
Micah chapter 1, verse 5. For the transgression of Jacob is all this, and for the sins of the house of Israel. What is the transgression of Jacob? Is it not Samaria? And what are the high places of Judah? Are they not Jerusalem?
Okay, so what did they do?
They were built.
Good.
They was building them high places in their cities and worshiping other gods.
Right. But give me one where they did it secretly. There's another prophet that spoke about it. They did something secretly. Isaiah 66. Remember, Isaiah was a prophet walking in this time period also. Book of Isaiah 66, verse 17.
Isaiah chapter 66, verse 17. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst,
Secretly.
eating swine's flesh and the abomination, and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord.
God is going to judge them. Watch this. We're going to take it back to the Lord. Deuteronomy 27. This was the secretly. Deuteronomy 27:15.
Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 15. Cursed be the man that maketh any graven or molten image, an abomination unto the Lord, the work of the hands of the craftsman, and putteth it in a secret place. And all the people shall answer and say, Amen.
And that's why judgment came, because we all agreed that we would not do it. And what do we end up doing? The same thing. And God began to judge us. So back to 2 Kings 17.
2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 7.
Verse 9.
Verse 9, excuse me. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images and groves in every high hill and under every green tree. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen, whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger.
And provoking him to anger, what happened? Salmonessa came. So this was 65 years after. Remember, he says in 65 years, they won't even be a people anymore. So Isaiah by this time was an older prophet. If he was still around, he was older by this time. He warned them. He told them. And guess what? He told who? Isaiah was a prophet to who? To Southern Kingdom. He was telling them, listen, 65 years, Ephraim not even going to be there. Northern Kingdom is going to be gone. They're going to be gone. And we Southern Kingdom, we witnessed it. And what do we do? The same thing. The same exact thing. So let's go back. I said, what was the point of me making that for? The book of Hosea now.
You want verse 1 again, Bishop?
I got to look at it. I forgot. I know what I want, but too long. Yeah, read verse 1.
Hosea chapter 1, verse 1. The word of the Lord that came unto Hosea, the son of Beerah, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel. The beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea. And the Lord said to Hosea, Go, take unto thee a wife of whoredoms, and children of whoredoms, for the land hath committed great whoredom, departing from the Lord.
So we know the whoredom, what they did. They set up golden calves and began to worship it. Right? Read on.
So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, which conceived and bare him a son. And the Lord said unto him, Call his name Jezreel, for yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu.
Now, who knows? We always read this. Who knows the history of the house of Jehu? Who knows about it? Where's it found in the Bible? Who knows? Anybody? Well, let's do this. Who understands about Jehu? That line. Nobody? Can I get one person? Can you Google it? Nobody knows? Kidan.
Shalom, Bishop. I do know the histories in 2 Kings 9.
Okay.
Where he killed Ahaziah, and his mother was Jezebel, his father Ahaz.
Right. In the time of Jehu, another class, when you get it, read it, there was a major sweeping reform. He was sent, God put a spirit in him, and he began to clean house, kill all of them. And then there was a line, a kingly line of the house of Jehu. For a few generations, they were there. Okay, very good. All right, but Jehu, his whole purpose was to clean house. All right? Read on.
Verse 5. And it shall come to pass at that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel.
Read on.
And she conceived again and bare a daughter. And God said unto him, Call her name Loruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away.
Right, he says, that's it. Now watch this. He said, he had enough of them. He said, I'm going to utterly take them away. Right? Stay right there. Give me 1 second. Let me look at something real quick. 7 verse. Okay, let's read on.
Verse 7. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen. Now when she had weaned, Loruhamah, she conceived and bare a son. Then said God, call his name Loami, for ye are not my people, for I will not be your God.
That's when he says in 65 years, they will not be a people. That the Lord said, I had enough of them. Enough is enough. Now, one of the prophets that walked was Amos, right? Hold this. Let's go to the book of Amos. This is what Amos said. And remember, I've said this in so many classes before. The prophets, when they're in a certain time period, they're all going to be saying similar things. I always say it, what you brothers in the street teach here in Atlanta is what they're going to teach in New York, is what they're going to teach in Florida. We're talking about the same things, right? So watch this. The Lord just had enough of them. That's what he said. Amos 7. Just lost my place. Oh, here it goes. Amos 7, verse... I don't want to start here. Uh, 7 and 7.
The book of Amos, chapter 7, verse 7. Thus he showed me, and behold, the Lord stood upon a wall made by a plumb line, with a plumb line in his hand.
So a plumb line, those that's into contracting, that kind of work, it's a line with a weight at the bottom, and it makes that piece of rope straight. So when they hold it, they can get a straight line. So this wall was made straight, and he was standing over it with a plumb line that fell down straight. Read on.
And the Lord said unto me, Amos, what seest thou? And I said, a plumb line. Then said the Lord, behold, I will set a plumb line in the midst of my people Israel. I will not again pass by them anymore.
What does he mean by that? Anybody know?
Shalom, Bishop, Most High Christ bless. That's going into him starting to deal with Northern Kingdom again.
Right, he said, I'm not going to go past them anymore, meaning what?
They were cast away. He wasn't dealing with
Right,
them.
he said, that was it. Enough is enough. I'm not going to let it pass anymore no more. Now I'm going to judge them. That's the same thing Hosea is saying when the Lord said, he's not, no more. I'm not dealing with it. All right? Now watch this. Stay right where you are. Give me 1 second. Let's stay there real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for something. What does it say again, Cap? Heirs that should not hear? In Isaiah? Is it Jeremiah? No. I want it in the Old Testament. Jeremiah 5, right? 5, thank you.
Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 21. Hear now this, O foolish people.
No, that's not it. Thank you. It's Isaiah. Thank you. What's this? 6 and 9. Thank you.
Isaiah chapter 6 and verse 9.
No. Let's read 6 and 1 first.
Yes, sir. Isaiah chapter 6, verse 1. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple.
So I read it because of Uzziah was the king. That's what I want to read. Jump on down to verse 9.
Verse 9. And he said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not.
But the Lord already had that plumb line where he said, I'm not going to turn back. But he still told, go and tell the people. They're going to hear, but they're not going to understand. Read on.
Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert, and be healed.
He says, lest they what? What does he mean? Lest they do what? Lest they do what? So what does he say? Who can explain it?
Shalom, leadership. So basically, the Lord is saying that He didn't want them to repent. Period.
Right.
Right.
Very good. Why didn't He want them to repent at that point?
Because He wanted to punish them.
He wanted to punish them. He said, I had enough of it. And here's the point I'm trying to make is that Southern Kingdom seen all this. We understood what Hosea the prophet was saying when he said, these are not God's people. But yet we continued on with sin. Very good. Let's go back. Where did we leave off? We left off in Kings, right? 2 Kings 17.
Yes, sir.
Second Kings 17. I forgot the verse that was.
We're at verse 11.
Read.
2 Kings chapter 17, verse 11. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. For they served idols, whereof the Lord has said unto them, ye shall not do this thing. Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes.
What verse is that?
Verse 13.
Read again.
Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear. But
name one of the prophets they would not hear. Isaiah. They wouldn't listen. Okay, read on.
Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks, like to the neck of their fathers, that did not believe in the Lord their God. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies, which he testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them. And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshiped all the host of heaven, and served Baal.
They went full into idolatry. They did not want to do it. Read on.
And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger.
This is how bad it was. Watch this. Go to the book of Amos. This is how much they angered the Most High. Amos. Amos was a prophet in this time period also. Amos chapter 8, verse 14.
Amos chapter 8, verse 14. They that swear by the sin of Samaria, and say, thy God, O Dan, liveth, in the manner of Beersheba liveth, even they shall fall and never rise up again.
He was so pissed off, he took away, the tribe of Dan was gone. But guess what? We as a people, he actually got rid of one of the tribes because of the idolatry. He said, I had enough. The point I'm making, when the Lord have enough of somebody, one of us, that's just it. He's not going to repent. He's long-suffering. He gave him a lot of warning, but Israel was not listening. All right, so let's go back. I want to go to 2 Kings, and let's go back, 17.
Yes, sir. 2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 14. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks, like to the neck of their fathers, that did not believe in the Lord their God. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them. And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshiped all the host of heaven, and served Baal.
So now remember, they went so full into this during the time of the king of, who's the king during this time? Huh? Who was the king of Assyria? Nobody knows?
Salmanasseh.
Salmanasseh, right? Let's go to the book of Tobit real quick. We're going to come back to King in a second. Look what Tobit said. I want you to read Tobit 1, verses 1 through 5.
Tobit chapter 1, verse 1. The book of the words of Tobit, son of Tobiel, the son of Ananiel, the son of Aduel, the son of Gabriel, of the seed of Asael, of the tribe of Naphtali, who in the time of Enemesser.
Who's that Enemesser? That's Salmanasseh. Very good. Who in the time of Salmanasseh,
king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Thisbe, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali in Galilee above Asher.
So Tobit was another prophet that was around during that time, that was carried away from Salmanasseh. Everybody following? All right, I'm trying to get you all to paint this picture in your mind. Just like today, many of you men are prophets on this earth right now in different cities, whatever. Just back then, there was many prophets. So let's read about him real quick. Let's read on.
Verse 3. I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the way of truth and justice, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation, who came with me to Nineveh into the land of the Assyrians. And when I was in mine own country, in the land of Israel, being but young, all the tribe of Naphtali, my father, fell from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there, where the temple of the habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages. Now, all the tribes which together revolted in the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto the heifer Baal. That was verse 5.
We don't.
Yes, sir. But I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feast, as it was ordained unto all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree, having the first fruits and tenths of increase, with that which was first shorn. And them gave I at the altar to the priests, the children of Aaron. The first 10th part of all increase I gave to the sons of Aaron, who ministered at Jerusalem. Another 10th part I sold away, and went and spent it every year at Jerusalem. And the third I gave unto them to whom it was meet, as Deborah, my father's mother, had commanded me, because I was left an orphan by my father.
So he continued on. He said, my whole family fell away, but I went back to Jerusalem during this time. So we know this was during the time of Salmanasseh when this happened. Read on.
Furthermore, when I was come to the age of a man, I married Anna of my own kindred, and of her I begat Tobias. And when we were carried away captives to Nineveh, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles.
And that's what we read. They went full long into idolatry. Read on.
But I kept myself from eating, because I remembered God with all my heart. And the Most High gave me grace and favor before Enemesser, so that I was his purveyor.
The purveyor means he was his buyer. He was a purveyor of meats. That's what his job for Salmanessar. Now here, I'm going to get to the point. Read on down.
Verse 14. And I went into Media and left in trust with Gabael, the brother of Gabrias, at Rages, a city of Media, 10 talents of silver. Now when Enemessar was dead, Sennacherib his son reigned in his stead, whose estate was troubled, that I could not go into Media.
Okay, so I want to get this point, because now Salmanessar has died. So far we read through Tiglath-Pileser, Salmanessar, he's dead now, and now his son Sennacherib is ruling. Now this dude, well, you know what? Before we read Sennacherib, let's read Sargon, because this was when he says, when we read right here, and it says, now when Enemessar was dead, Sennacherib his son reigned in his stead, whose estate was troubled. That's what I want to explain that. Go to the book of Isaiah 20. Oh, wrong way. Isaiah 20, and we're going to read one verse. I think it's verse 1, 20 and 1.
Isaiah chapter 20 and verse 1. In the year that Tartan came unto Ashdod, when Sargon, the king of Assyria, sent him and fought against Ashdod and took it.
Okay, so now, I'm sorry, read that one more time for me.
Yes, sir. In the year that Tartan came unto Ashdod, when Sargon, the king of Assyria, sent him and fought against Ashdod and took it.
Okay, so what I want out of that was when Sargon, the king of Assyria. So Sargon and Sennacherib were brothers. So when their father died, Salmanessar, it was a little struggle of who was going to rule at that point. The only recording of Sargon we have is what we're reading right here. All right? Who prevailed? It was Sennacherib. And that's what we were reading back in Tobit. So let's go about that little trouble, all right, that he had. Let me see this real quick before we move on. So go back to Tobit 1, verse 15.
Tobit chapter 1, verse 15. Now when Enemessar was dead, Sennacherib his son reigned in his stead, whose estate was troubled, that I could not go into Media.
He couldn't move around and go down to Media. Is Media on that map? I don't see it. I zoom in, maybe my sight. Media would be to the right. Let me see. Ecbatana. Okay, you see what Susha is? Low Media is right above that, right around there. If you could have time and pull up another map, it should be there. But let's see the trouble that he had. All right, 2 Kings 18. I want verse 1.
2 Kings chapter 18 and verse 1. Now it came to pass in the 3rd year of Hoshea, son of Elah, king of Israel, that Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, king of Judah, began to reign. 25 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem.
Now jump on down to verse 13.
Verse 13. Now in the 14th year of King Hezekiah did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, come up against all the fenced cities of Judah and took them.
Now remember, let's go back to that map real quick. I'm sorry. Now remember, I want to on Israel's side. Remember, Tiglath-Pileser came down. Well, who was it before Tiglath-Pileser? No, it was Tiglath-Pileser came down. Pull is Tiglath-Pileser. Remember the king Menahem paid him money. They came down. He went back up. Then he came back, took 3 of the tribes, or 2.5. Then Salmanessar came down and took the rest of northern kingdom away. Now Sennacherib, look what he does. Verse 13.
Verse 13. Now in the 14th year of King Hezekiah did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, come up against all the fenced cities of Judah and took them.
Now he came down further now. He came to the fenced cities of Judah and took them. This map is not going to help me. I need a better map than that, because I can always tell you when the cities are not there. Look for Look, you see that? Type in, let me see that map right there. Click on that. I want to see Jerusalem area. Oh, perfect. That map is perfect. Okay, zoom in on that map on the Israel side. Some of the names are not right, but it has a name I want down there. All right. Okay, so let's read that verse again.
2 Kings chapter 18, verse 13. Now in the 14th year of Hezekiah, did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, come up against all the fenced cities of Judah and took them.
So now he's encroaching further down. Now these Assyrians are coming further. Read on.
And Hezekiah, king of Judah, sent to the king of Assyria, to Lachish, saying, I have offended, return from me. That which thou puttest on me will I bear. And the king of Assyria appointed unto Hezekiah, king of Judah, 300 talents of silver and 30 talents of gold.
Now, if you look below Jerusalem, the city of Lachish right there, this is how far down they came. They began to take all the defense cities, and it was leaving Jerusalem for the last. That's the big city they want. So before he got there, so they way down in all land now. All that above, they conquered. They had all the northern kingdom. So all those defense cities they got, and Lachish is a city that was there. The next one would have been where? Jerusalem. So before he came there, he said, listen, what you want? You know what it's about. It's about money. So he said, we'll pay you. All right? So let's keep on reading on.
Verse 15. And Hezekiah gave him all the silver that was found in the house of the Lord and in the treasures of the king's house. At that time, did Hezekiah cut off the gold from the doors of the temple of the Lord and from the pillars which Hezekiah, king of Judah, had overlaid.
You see how serious it was? They started cutting off the gold off the doors to give this man. Read on.
And gave it to the king of Assyria.
What verse we at?
Verse 17.
Yes, here we go.
Verse 17. And the king of Assyria sent Tartan and Rabsaris and Rabshaketh from Lachish to King Hezekiah with a great host against Jerusalem.
Now, he says, and the king of Assyria sent Tartan, Rabsaris, and Rabshakeh from Lachish. Go back real quick, Isaiah 20. These men were emissaries for Sennacherib. Read 20 and 1.
Isaiah chapter 20, verse 1. In the year that Tartan came unto Ashdod, when Sargon, the king of Assyria, sent him.
Okay, let's show you Ashdod real quick. If you stay right where it should be right there. See Ashdod right there? That's another one of the defense cities right there. All right? Well, he sent, now who sent him? Sargon sent him. And who did he send here? Tartan. This is one of the captains of the host. So when Sargon was gone, Tartan stayed on with Sennacherib. Everybody following? All right. Now watch this. Read 17 in 2 Kings 18.
2 Kings chapter 17, verse 18. Therefore, the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only. Also, Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their God.
I'm lost. Where we reading from right now? 2 Kings?
Yes, sir. You want 18, 17?
I'm sorry. Yes,
yes
18, 17.
2 Kings chapter 18, verse 17. And the king of Assyria sent Tartan and Rabsaris and Rabshakeh from Lachish to King Hezekiah with a great host against Jerusalem. And they went up and came to Jerusalem. And when they were come up, they came and stood up by the conduit of the upper pool, which is in the highway of the fuller's field. Mm-hmm. And when they had called to the king, there came out to them Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, which was over the household, and Shebna, the scribe, and Joah, the son of Asaph, the recorder. And Rabshakeh said unto them, Speak ye now to Hezekiah, thus saith the great king, the king of Assyria, what confidence is this wherein thou trustest?
You understand what he's saying? He said, what confidence is that you guys trust? Now remember, Sennacherib sent them. Sennacherib was in Lachish. He sent them to Jerusalem to speak. The emissaries from Sennacherib was there, and the emissaries from Hezekiah was there. And he says, read the last verse again. What verse is that?
Verse 19.
Read that again.
And Rabshakeh said unto them, Speak ye now to Hezekiah. Thus saith the great king, the king of Assyria, what confidence is this wherein thou trustest?
What confidence that you can hold us off? Read on.
Thou sayest, but they are but vain words. I have counsel and strength for the war. Now on whom doest thou trust that thou rebellest against me?
He said, and whom do you trust that you will rebel against the king of Assyria? Read on.
Now, behold, thou trustest upon the staff of this bruised reed, even upon Egypt, on which if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, unto all that trust on him.
He said, you guys making a mistake because you trusted in the king of Egypt like he's going to be able to help you. He said, you trusted on a bruised reed. It's going to snap and it's going to pierce your hand. Read on.
Verse 22. But if ye say unto me, we trust in the Lord our God, is not that he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah hath taken away, and have said to Judah and Jerusalem, ye shall worship before this altar in Jerusalem?
He said, didn't Hezekiah take away the altars that was of the Lord? Those altars, remember, the altars that the northern kingdom had was initially to the Father, to God. Because when we came out of Egypt, our first place we landed was in the land of Samaria. And we set up an altar in, I forgot. What's the Ebal and what's the other one? The mount, Ebal to curse, and the other one was what? Yeah, go to, oh man, somebody tell me real quick. You can find it in Joshua 8. Go to Joshua. I forgot the name of it. Yeah, just tell me what it says. I just want to know. Don't go to it. Just tell me what the altar is called. Ebal and the way you send the blessings.
Gerizim.
Thank you. Gerizim. Damn, I could remember it. So that was where the first altar was. So when he said over here, what was the last verse you read?
Verse 22.
He said, read it again.
But if ye say unto me, we trust in the Lord our God, is not that he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah had taken away?
But he had to take them away. Why? Because they went into idolatry. Read on.
And have said to Judah and Jerusalem, ye shall worship before this altar in Jerusalem.
Right.
Now therefore I pray thee, give pledges to my lord the king of Assyria, and I will deliver thee 2,000 horses, if thou be able on thy part to set riders upon them.
You see his arrogancy? He said, listen, I give pledges to you. We'll give you 2,000 horses to fight us. You just got to have 2,000 men to sit on them, and we'll give it to you. That's how confident they. He's like, you guys have no hope, no chance of beating us. We're going to stop right here and come right back. Remember what I told you before. Kings and Chronicles is just repeating things that we read in the other prophets. We're going to come right back to this. Don't let me go no place else other than this so I don't get sidetracked. Now, you know what? Let's just continue reading on because I'm going to get sidetracked. I already know that already.
Verse 24. How then wilt thou turn away the face of one captain of the least of my master's servant, and put thy trust on Egypt for chariots and for horsemen?
He said, you couldn't handle one of the least of the captain of the host for my master. The one who's really, he's all right. He said, you can't stand against him. Read on.
Am I now come up without the Lord against this place to destroy it? The Lord said to me, go up against this land and destroy it.
He said, God told me. He said, your God told me to come here and kill y'all. Read on.
Then said Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, and Shebna, and Joah, unto Rabshakeh, speak, I pray thee, to thy servants in the Syria language, for we understand it, and talk not with us in the Jews' language in the ears of the people that are on the wall.
So he said, listen, the people or men that's on the wall, he said, listen, do us a favor. Speak in the Syrian tongue. We can understand that. Don't speak in Hebrew because we don't want these men to hear us. He didn't want them to break their spirits. But look what he said.
What club was that at?
That was admit that a lot of people don't even realize that.
I've called her. She hasn't responded. I've called her more than a few times.
With the Zulu Nation, I'm like, what the hell is this? I know nobody know what I'm talking about. You'll leave me on the island by myself. I don't know what the hell Bishop's talking about. That's what y'all do. Then after class, yeah, I knew what you were talking about. I just don't want to be caught out there. The hell is this? Get on my damn nerves. So read that again, 31.
But Rabshakeh said unto them, hath my master sent me to thy master and to thee to speak these words? Hath he not sent me to the men which sit on the wall, that they may eat their own dung and drink their own piss with you? Then Rabshakeh stood and cried with a loud voice in the Jews' language, and spake, saying, hear the word of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus saith the king, let not Hezekiah deceive you, for he shall not be able to deliver you out of his hand. Neither let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, saying, the Lord will surely deliver us, and this city shall not be delivered into the hand of the king of Assyria. Hearken not to Hezekiah, for thus saith the king of Assyria, make an agreement with me by a present, and come out to me. Then eat ye every man of his own vine, and every one of his fig tree, and drink ye every one of the waters of his cistern, until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of corn and wine, a land of bread and vineyards, a land of oil, olive, and of honey, that ye may live and not die.
So look what he says. He says, listen, you better listen to me. Don't even listen to your God. Don't let him fool you. Your God is not going to help you. The gods of other nations never work, so what makes you think you're going to work? And don't lean on Egypt, because Egypt can't help you. So which prophet spoke about Egypt cannot help? Come on, let's go. Say it.
Isaiah.
Let's go. Isaiah 30. So when we read Isaiah 30 a lot of times, we use it to explain Israel going into Babylon or going into Egypt during the time of the Babylonians. But that wasn't the only time when we try to trust in Egypt. We try to trust in Egypt in the time of the Assyrians also. Read that.
Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt.
Right, we don't.
Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be ashamed, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion.
It's going to be a confusion, right? Now, chapter 31, verse 1.
Isaiah chapter 31, verse 1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses, and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord. Yet he also is wise, and will bring evil, and will not call back his words, but will arise against the house of the evildoers, and against the help of them that work iniquity.
Read.
Now the Egyptians are men and not God, and their horses flesh and not spirit. When the Lord shall stretch out his hand, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down, and they shall all fail together.
The Lord wants us to reach to him for help. Stop looking to everybody else. Where we was at in Kings.
2 Kings 18 and verse
Quarter 1, 32. Verse 33.
Verse 33. 2 Kings chapter 18, verse 33. Hath any of the gods of the nations delivered at all his land out of the hand of the king of Assyria? Where are the gods of Hamath and of Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim, Hena, and Iva? Have they delivered Samaria out of mine hand? Who are they among all the gods of the countries that have delivered their country out of mine hand?
So when you look at the map, some of those places like Hamath, you can see it right there. It's that'd be in the land of Syria, right there. He said, we came and we took all these different lands, and their gods didn't help them. What makes you think your God is going to deliver you? Read on.
Verse 35. Who are they among all the gods of the countries that have delivered their country out of mine hand, that the Lord shall deliver Jerusalem out of mine hand? But the people held their peace and answered him not a word. For the king's commandment was, saying, answer him not. Then came Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, which was over the household, and Shebna, the scribe, and Joah, the son of Asaph, the recorder, to Hezekiah with their clothes rent, and told him the words of Rabshakeh.
So they went back to Hezekiah to tell him the words. Chapter 19.
2 Kings chapter 19, verse 1. And it came to pass, when King Hezekiah heard it, that he rent his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of the Lord. And he sent Eliakim, which was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and the elders of the priests, covered with sackcloth, to Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos. And they said unto him, thus saith Hezekiah, this day is a day of trouble and of rebuke and blasphemy. For the children are come to the birth, and there is not strength to bring forth. It may be the Lord thy God will hear all the words of Rabshakeh, whom the king of Assyria, his master, have sent to reproach the living God, and will reprove the words which the Lord thy God hath heard. Wherefore, lift up thy prayer for the remnant that are left.
Yep. Verse.
We have verse 5.
God, read on.
Verse 5. So the servants of King Hezekiah came to Isaiah, and Isaiah said unto them, thus shall ye say to your master, thus saith the Lord, be not afraid of the words which thou hast heard, with which the servants of the king of Assyria have blasphemed me. Behold, I will send a blast upon him, and he shall hear a rumor, and shall return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. So Rabshakeh returned and found the king of Assyria warring against Libnah, for he had heard that he was departed from Lachish. And when he heard say of Tirhakah, king of Ethiopia, behold, he is come out to fight against thee. He sent messengers again unto Hezekiah, saying, thus shall ye speak to Hezekiah, king of Judah, saying, let not thy God in whom thou trustest deceive thee, saying, Jerusalem shall not be delivered into the hand of the king of Assyria.
Says, don't worry. Jerusalem is not going to be delivered to God said, don't worry, because he spoke against me. Like I don't matter. He said, don't worry. But here's the point I want in verse 9. And when he heard say of Tirhakah, king of Ethiopia, behold, he is come out to fight against thee. He sent messengers to Hezekiah. He sent messengers again to Hezekiah. What was happening now? Egypt, Ethiopia, they knew he's coming south. We got to meet him up to hold him off. So now he has to take his attentions down there and deal with these people because this is another power. He said, hurry up, Hezekiah. Just hurry up, fall, because you're not going to get delivered. It's important to understand that later on in what we're going to read, right? So read on.
Verse 11. Behold, thou hast heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all lands by destroying them utterly. And shalt thou be delivered? Have the gods of the nations delivered them which my fathers have destroyed, as Gozan and Haran and Rezeph and the children of Eden, which were in Thelasar? Where is the king of Hamath, and the king of Arpad, and the king of the city of Sepharvaim, of Hena and Iva? And Hezekiah received the letter of the hand of the messengers and read it. And Hezekiah went up into the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord.
Now listen to what he's saying. He's naming all these places and people that Sennacherib have killed, right? Watch this. Go back to the book of Tobit. He named all these. Look, he said, I killed here and here and here and here, and these people, they cannot stand against me. The book of Tobit, let me get there with you. Tobit 1, verse 18.
Tobit chapter 1, verse 18. And if the king Sennacherib had slain any when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privily, for in his wrath he killed many.
Because in his wrath he killed many people. But we're talking about Israel in this regard. Give me that, thank you very much. Give me that picture of the impaling of us in Lachish. What you're about to look, these were reliefs that was carved in the walls in his capital, Nineveh, of how they killed us. Put them on both screens. I said there's a single picture. You can scroll down from here if you want to. Keep on going. Scroll. Okay, right there. Let's go back up. Let's see this right here. Siege of Lachish. Right there. Somebody read that. Stop right there.
You can zoom it in, please. All right. The siege of Lachish reliefs. Sennacherib recorded this victorious military campaign in a series of wall reliefs, which decorated room 36 of his southwest palace at Nineveh. These reliefs were probably painted, but even without any colors, they are astonishing historical documents, just like a film in stone. The reliefs were about 2.5 meters in height and would have run in a continuous frieze, almost from the floor to the ceiling within that room. Neglected for 2,500 years, today these wall reliefs are now housed in room 10B of the British Museum.
Man, so the British Museum got this. That's how we know this Bible is real. I mean, people be... Okay, let's watch the reliefs. Scroll down. I don't want to read all this. Let's talk about Sennacherib. Okay. That's us bowing down. Look at the image. First off, we look like Negroes. That's the first thing. Just look at the people bowing. That's him on a throne. All right? All right. Keep on scrolling. All right, let's go. Those were his warriors. Keep on going. Those are his men, the archers. This is the fall of Lachish. What they did. Read on. I'm going to read on. Scroll on down. Amen. Scroll on. Keep on scrolling. Scroll. Scroll, siege, go back. Okay, go back up. That's their siege engines that they had because they had a siege. I didn't even go to that today. Damn, I forgot to even go over that. They laid a siege against us also. Scrolling down. Yes, scroll. And this is when they impaled us. So we're reading about. That's what it says. Don't come off that picture. I want you to read back in Tobit, 1 verse 18.
Yes, sir.
No, start with verse 15, and just stay on the picture.
Tobit, chapter 1, verse 15. Now when Enemessar was dead, Sennacherib, his son, reigned in his stead, whose estate was troubled, that I could not go into Media. And in the time of Enemessar, I gave many alms to my brethren, and gave my bread to the hungry, and my clothes to the naked. And if I saw any of my nation dead, or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him.
So this is Lachish, but the point I'm making is that Sennacherib was a sadistic killer. This guy killed, these people are evil as hell. So read on.
And if the king Sennacherib had slain any, when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privily.
Stop. When he was come and fled from Judea. We're going to read why he fled from Judea. Because the angels killed 185,000 men. So he fled from Judea. And when he got back to Nineveh, what did he do? He started killing the Israelites. He hated these people. But this is what they did in Lachish, one of the fortified cities around Jerusalem. They impaled us. So read on.
I buried them privily, for in his wrath he killed many.
He killed what?
Many.
He killed many. So I hope it's helping paint the picture of who Sennacherib was, and these people of the Syrian captivity for us, these rulers. Okay, so I said something earlier, and we're going to start who's left out of them? Sennacherib, well, there's another one, Esarhaddon, but let's go back to 2 Kings 19. And remind me real quick, to come back to Tobit to explain, because I never explained the trouble that Sennacherib had, all right? Just remind me later on, I'll get to it. Okay, so we're in 2 Kings 18. We're in 2 Kings 19, right?
Yes, sir.
What verse was that?
15.
Okay, I don't want to read all this. Because I want to get to Babylon. Find me the verse in here where they killed 885,000. It's towards the end. Syrian stones, behold, they were dead corpse. Like around 30.
35.
35?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's start with verse 28. No, start with verse 28.
2 Kings chapter 19, verse 28. Because thy rage is against me, and thy tumult is come up into mine ears. Therefore I will put my hook in thy nose, and my bridle in thy lips.
Hold on. Let me play this video real quick. Go ahead. Are you going to pull it up? Okay, so keep on reading.
And I will turn thee back by the way by which thou camest. And this shall be a sign unto thee. Ye shall eat this year such things as grow of themselves. And in the second year, that which springeth of the same. And in the third year, sow ye, and reap, and plant vineyards, and eat the fruits thereof.
Read on.
And the remnant that is escaped of the house of Judah shall yet again take root downward and bear fruit upward.
Right. So he said the remnant is going to be safe, but those people, Lachish, got killed. Read on.
For out of Jerusalem shall go forth a remnant, and they that escape out of Mount Zion. The zeal of the Lord of hosts shall do this.
So what did escape? Sennacherib. Read on.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not come into this city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with shield, nor cast a bank against it. By the way that he came, by the same shall he return, and shall not come into the city, saith the Lord.
And we read in Tobit, he fled from Judea, right? And he came back to the land, and he was what? He was angry, and he started killing the Israelites. And the dragon was wroth. Read on.
For I will defend the city to save it, for mine own sake and for my servant David's sake.
Because why? He said, your dad ain't nothing. He ain't gonna save you. So God said, for my own ego, I'm gonna kill him. You don't gotta do nothing. I'm gonna show my power. Read on.
And it came to pass that night that the angel of the Lord went out and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses.
So Sennacherib had 185,000 men that was killed. So it makes sense when you read in Tobit now, and he says in Tobit 1:18, and if King Sennacherib has slain any, when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privily. So he came back and said, all these Israelites that's here, northern kingdom, that was there in the land, he said, your people, we just lost 185,000 men. Start killing these niggas. Start just killing them. So this payback. So read on.
Verse 36.
Yes.
So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt in Nineveh.
That's where Tobit was. We just read that in Nineveh, right? Okay, let me just finish this last verse and we watch the video. Now, this is the point I want to get to so I can end on the Assyrians. No, I got something else to say about them. Verse 37.
Verse 37. And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch, his god, that Adremelech and Sherezer, his sons, smote him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Armenia, and Esarhaddon, his son, reigned in his stead.
And that's the last of the Assyrian kings that we read about, was Esarhaddon. There's nothing on him. And we're going to go back a little bit because remember, there was a trouble. So play this video real quick. What you got?
Sennacherib is best known to history for his attack on the kingdom of Judah and his siege in 701 BC of its capital, Jerusalem. This is yet another event that's described in both the Old Testament of the Bible as well as in Sennacherib's own inscriptions. Though each's account of what happened differs. Both agree that Sennacherib moved into the Levant to either accept tribute from or destroy several of its kingdoms. The Assyrians then entered Judah and attacked the city of Lachish before heading to Jerusalem. There, Sennacherib laid siege to the city, but in the end failed to take it. Both the Bible and Assyrian records agree on this outcome, but the reason why isn't clear. The biblical account details the discussion between the prophet Isaiah and Judah's king Hezekiah, who is convinced that he must hold against Sennacherib's siege. Then one night, an angel miraculously goes through the enemy camp to kill 185,000 of Sennacherib's soldiers. Though most scholars tend to believe that the numbers of his army would be closer to 5,000.
I'm sorry, stop.
Regardless of the
I hate the
total
white man.
and how it happened.
Now, we just read it. He said that the scholars, what do you mean the scholars? Yeah, they came up, they went and dug up 5,000 people, said these are the people that was there. The Bible said 185,000. That's what we going with. We ain't going, white man always got some tricknology. I don't want to hear no more of that. Let me go into the Bible. Just pissed me off. We just read it. He said, the scholars. Which scholars? Thank you. That was a good video. But, yeah, okay. So here's the thing. A couple of things I want to touch on. I'm never going to get to Babylon today. Tobit 1:15.
Tobit, chapter 1, verse 15. Now when Enemessar was dead, Sennacherib his son reigned in his stead, whose estate was troubled.
The trouble was, remember, we read in Isaiah 20, Sargon was there. Sargon was ruling first. You don't read much about him, but he was there. So the trouble was what? There was a transfer of power in the time of Salmanassar. And Sargon and Sennacherib, the two sons, I'm not going to say they had a battle, but whatever was going on, it was not stable. And it not being stable, this is when Babylon start making their moves. All right? And we're going to start reading about that a little bit. Right? Go to the book of Isaiah 38. And we're going to explain that. A second. Isaiah 37. I think that's it. 37. No. Okay, I'm not going to read it. If you read Isaiah 36, it says the same thing we was reading about just now, all right? Isaiah 36 says it. Let's go to 37. This is when they killed them, Sennacherib in 37. So we're going to read, Isaiah 38 and 1.
Isaiah chapter 38 and verse 1. In those days was Hezekiah sick unto death, and Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, came unto him, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, set thine house in order, for thou shalt die and not live. Then Hezekiah turned his face toward the wall, and prayed unto the Lord, and said, Remember now, O Lord, I beseech thee, how I have walked before thee in truth and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. Then came the word of the Lord to Isaiah, saying, Go and say to Hezekiah, Thus saith the Lord, the God of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will add unto thy days 15 years, and I will deliver thee and the city out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and I will defend the city. And this shall be a sign unto thee from the Lord.
Okay, so Hezekiah was sick. He prayed to God. God added 15 years onto him, right? Now look what happens in chapter 39. So normally when we talk about Babylon, who do we talk about? Which king do we talk about? King of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar. That's who we normally speak about, and then his son. But we're gonna predate him right now, right? 39 and 1.
Isaiah chapter 39, verse 1. At that time, Merodach Baladan, the son of Baladan, king of Babylon, sent letters and a present to Hezekiah, for he had heard that he had been sick and was recovered.
So he heard that he was sick and was recovering. So he sent a letter to him, right? Read on.
And Hezekiah was glad of them.
Now stop. I want to say this. Remember, Hezekiah was around during the time of Sennacherib and Sargon. Just remember that. And remember, said there was trouble with the estate of Sennacherib. So now, what does this king do? He sent a present to him because he heard he was sick. Look where Babylon is at on the map. It's all the way far east. He sends a gift all the way to Jerusalem, far west. See Babylon to the right there? Lower right by the Euphrates. Right there, go down. You're right there. You're right on it. Put the pointer on it. Right there. He sends a gift all the way over to Jerusalem, you know, because he heard he was sick. You think he'd give a damn about him? Read on.
Verse 2. And Hezekiah was glad of them, and showed them the house of his precious things, the silver and the gold and the spices and the precious ointment, and all the house of his armor, and all that was found in his treasures. There was nothing in his house, nor in all his dominion, that Hezekiah showed them not.
So now Hezekiah showed him everything he had. But what is the most important thing in there that he showed him? What's that? Go ahead. No. Now the goal is important. But
Shalom, Bishop, it was the armor?
The armor. He showed them what he had for war. That's what Negroes do. It's called cribs. That's why I come to your house and show them everything you got. So he showed them everything he had, right? Read on.
Verse 3. Then came Isaiah the prophet unto King Hezekiah, and said unto him, What said these men? And from whence came they unto thee? And Hezekiah said, They are come from a far country unto me, even from Babylon. Then said he, What have they seen in thine house? And Hezekiah answered, All that is in mine house have they seen. There is nothing among my treasures that I have not showed them. Then said Isaiah to Hezekiah, Hear the word of the Lord of hosts. Behold, the days come that all that is in thine house and that which thy fathers have laid up in store unto this day shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Lord.
So he told him, the day is going to come that everything you showed is going to Babylon. This is the beginning of the end of the southern kingdom. We're about to translate and go over to Babylonian now, right? So what was this king doing? He was trying to set up a fake alliance with us because they're about to encroach on Assyria. They're trying to push northward or northwestward. So it would be good to have allies on that side. But here we go. Back to 2 Kings, I should say. So he said everything, one day, all your stuff. No, read it. I'm sorry. There's more to read. 39 and verse 7.
Isaiah chapter 39 and verse 7. There we go. And of thy sons that shall issue from thee, which thou shalt beget, shall they take away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. Then said Hezekiah to Isaiah, Good is the word of the Lord which thou hast spoken. He said, Moreover, for there shall be peace and truth in my days.
He says, in my days will be peace and truth, but good is the word, meaning it's going to come to pass. If the Lord said it, it's going to happen. Your children are going to become eunuchs. They're going to cut off their rods, and they're going to be men ministered into the king of Babylon's palace. Now we know it didn't happen in Merodach Baladan's time, the king. It was further on. So let's go back. 2 Kings. I know this is a lot to digest. Take the notes, go back and read it, and put these pieces together. And it's very important to have this so when you get to the New Testament, you are thoroughly learned in what happened in the past. 2 Kings 23 now. 23 verse, I forgot. 29. Am I right? Yeah, 23, 29.
Yes, sir. 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 29. In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates, and King Josiah went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo when he had seen him. And his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre.
So we're going to read the history on King Pharaoh Necho. Necho was going north to fight against Assyria, and then eventually fight against Babylon. But he was going north to fight. And King Josiah came and fought against him. He warned him, said, listen, I'm not here for you. I'm trying to keep these dudes from coming down. Let me go do my work. But he got involved, got himself killed, and we became tributaries to them. Read on.
And the people of the land took Jehoaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him, and made him king in his father's stead. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah.
Right. Stop there. Watch this. I want to go. Oh, read on.
And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. And Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in the room of Josiah his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim, and took Jehoahaz away. And he came to Egypt and died there. And Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, of every one according to his taxation, to give it unto Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Zebudah, the daughter of Pedaiah of Rumah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done.
Now we're gonna read the same thing in Chronicles, but I just want you to read 24, verse 1.
2 Kings chapter 24 and verse 1. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years.
So now, guess what now? We're now ushering the Babylonians. But before we read this, let's go to 2 Chronicles 35. Second Chronicles 35 and verse 1.
2 Chronicles chapter 35 and verse 1. Moreover, Josiah kept a Passover unto the Lord in Jerusalem, and they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the first month.
Jump to verse 18.
Verse 18. And there was no Passover like to that kept in Israel from the days of Samuel the prophet. Neither did all the kings of Israel keep such a Passover as Josiah kept, and the priests and the Levites and all Judah and Israel that were present, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem.
Read on.
In the 18th year of the reign of Josiah was this Passover kept. And after all this, when Josiah had prepared the temple, Necho, king of Egypt, came up to fight against Carchemish by Euphrates, and Josiah went out against him.
So now he's being more descriptive where he went, to Carchemish. If you look on the map, right up on the waterway by above Samaria, Tyre, Sidon, Arvad, Kedar, I can't see Carchemish, right to Tarshish. Can you put the pointer on it? Right there, that's it. This is where he was going to fight. All right? Now watch this. Verse 21.
Verse 21. But he sent ambassadors to him, saying, What have I to do with thee, thou king of Judah? I come not against thee this day, but against the house wherewith I have war. For God commanded me to make haste. Forbear thee from meddling with God, who is with me, that he destroy thee not. Nevertheless, Josiah would not turn his face from him, but disguised himself, that he might fight with him, and hearkened not unto the words of Necho from the mouth of God, and came to fight in the valley of Megiddo. And the archers shot at King Josiah, and the king said to his servants, Have me away, for I am sore wounded. His servants therefore took him out of that chariot, and put him in the second chariot that he had. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and he died, and was buried in one of the sepulchres of his fathers. And all Judah and Jerusalem mourned for Josiah.
So now here's the point. They was coming from south, from Egypt, up to fight against the Assyrians, right? We're going to read about Babylon coming from the west to fight them. they were destabilized. That was the trouble of his estate. They was talking about in Tobit. They knew that the kingdom, when there's a transfer of power, you needed to move smoothly because all the nations around about see a weakness and they're like, okay, it's time for us to make the move. So now Necho's moving up. Baladan sent gifts. Now it's time for Nebuchadnezzar to come into play. So this, I didn't read. I'm sorry. When I finished with them, when I finished with us, with the Syrians, let's go to the book of Tobit one more time. Tobit 14. You know what I didn't read, and I'm not going to get to it, is Jonah, because we were talking about Nineveh. Okay, let's just read so much. Okay, Tobit 14, verse 15.
Tobit chapter 14, verse 15. But before he died, he heard of the destruction of Nineveh, which was taken by Nebuchadnezzar and Assyrians. And before his death, he rejoiced over Nineveh.
Okay. So can we show Nineveh on that map? Nineveh was the capital of the Assyrian captivity, of the Assyrians, I should say. So what we just read in Tobit, they talked about the fall of Nineveh. Now, when we read the book of Jonah, Jonah came there, he prophesied, stayed off the destruction from God, but Nineveh didn't change. The people there, which was us, we was in Nineveh. What were we into? Idolatry. And eventually, Nineveh fell. All right? So let's read that verse again one more time.
Yes, sir. Tobit chapter 14, verse 15. But before he died, he heard of the destruction of Nineveh, which was taken by Nebuchadnezzar and Assyrians. And before his death, he rejoiced over Nineveh.
So before he died, he heard of the fall of Nineveh. This was taken by Nebuchadnezzar and Ahasuerus. So this is the Nebuchadnezzar we're reading about, right? By this time, let's go to the book of Daniel 9. and 1.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 1. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem.
So stop. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, that was the same Ahasuerus we just read about in the book of Tobit. Remember, Nebuchadnezzar and Ahasuerus came together. So it was the Medes and the Babylonians came together to defeat the Assyrians. All right? And it says here, in the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. So I read that to show that it was the Medes that came together with Nebuchadnezzar to defeat Assyria. Thank you. We're going to come back to this later on in reading. Let's go back now to Kings 23. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. 2 Kings 24.
Yes, sir. 2 Kings chapter 24 and verse 1. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him. And the Lord sent against him bands of the Chaldees, and bands of the Syrians, and bands of the Moabites, and bands of the children of Ammon, and sent them against Judah to destroy it.
Okay, I need help real quick, Captain. Find me where Nebuchadnezzar threatened them to help him. Remember he said, and if you don't help, I'm going to come back and destroy you? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Not everybody answered at the same time. Either yes or no. Deacon Athon, if you're listening, please give me a scripture when Nebuchadnezzar told him, if y'all don't help me, I'm coming for you. I forgot the wording, how it's worded. Anybody know what I'm talking about? We on the same page? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Thank you. Yeah, they said, he told all the nations to come around. He said, y'all didn't help me? I'm going to fix you. I'm coming back for you. Judith, thank you. Thank you, Zakar. Let's go to the book of Judith. Oh, boy. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to stop the class. You know why? Because this opens up, this is going to open me up into Babylon, and there's no way we're going to get through Babylon today. Okay, so this is Judith what? Okay. Gosh, okay, let's start with I'm going to start with verse 1.
Judith, chapter 1, verse 1. In the 12th year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, who reigned in Nineveh, the great city, in the days of Arphaxad, which reigned over the Medes in Ecbatane.
Okay, I want you to find the scripture which said Nebuchadnezzar, king of Assyria. All right, read on.
And built in Ecbatane walls round about of stones, hewn 3 cubits broad and 6 cubits long.
So in the 12th year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, who reigned in Nineveh, this is when Nineveh fell. And now he reigned in Nineveh. He took that as a capital, all right? He reigned in Nineveh, the great city, in the days of Arphaxad, which reigned over the Medes in Ecbatane. Read on.
And built in Ecbatane walls round about of stones, hewn 3 cubits broad and 6 cubits long, and made the height of the wall 70 cubits, and the breadth thereof 50 cubits, and set the towers thereof upon the gates of it 100 cubits high, and the breadth thereof in the foundation 80 cubits. And he made the gates thereof, even gates that were raised to the height of 70 cubits, and the breadth of them was 40 cubits, for the going forth of his mighty armies, and for the setting in array of his footmen. Even in those days, King Nebuchadnezzar made war with King Arphaxad in the great plain, which is the plain in the borders of Ragau.
Right, he made war with the king of the Medes. So jump on down now. And remember, this is the 12th year of his reign. Remember, he joined with the Medes to take down Assyria. 12 years later, he said, you know what? I'm going to take down the Medes. Jump on down. I want to read all that. Jump down to verse 7.
Verse 7. Then Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, sent unto all that dwelt in Persia, and to all that dwelt westward, and to those that dwelt in Cilicia, and Damascus, and Libanus, and Anti-Libanus, and to all that dwelt upon the sea coast.
So notice here they said, then Nebuchadnezzar, king of Assyria. We read about it because he destroyed Assyria. Read on.
And to those among the nations that were of Carmel and Galad and the higher Galilee and the great plain of Esdraelon, and to all that were in Samaria and the cities thereof, and beyond Jordan unto Jerusalem, and Betane, and Chelis, and Cadiz, and the river of Egypt, and Taphnes, and Ramsey, and all the land of Jesem, until ye come beyond Tanis and Memphis, and to all the inhabitants of Egypt, until ye come to the borders of Ethiopia. But all the inhabitants of the land made light of the commandment of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians. Neither went they with him to the battle, for they were not afraid of him. Yea, he was before them as one man, and they sent away his ambassadors from them without effect and with disgrace.
So they said, yeah, okay, you're the king of Babylon, you're the king of Assyria, but man, you're just one man. You ain't beefed up like that. Nobody's really worried about you. Read on.
Verse 12. Therefore, Nebuchadnezzar was very angry with all this country, and sware by his throne and kingdom that he would surely be avenged upon all those coasts of Cilicia and Damascus and Syria, and that he would slay with the sword all the inhabitants of the land of Moab, and the children of Ammon, and all Judea, and all that were in Egypt, till ye come to the borders of the two seas.
He said, I'm going to kill everybody that disobeyed me. Read on.
Then he marched in battle array with his power against King Arphaxad in the 17th year, and he prevailed in his battle, for he overthrew all the power of Arphaxad.
So now you will understand why he called all those nations together to help him, because the Medes was no joke. The Medes helped them take down Assyria. So he said, yeah, surely we're going to need help. Then nobody helped him, and he defeated Arphaxad, or the Medes. Read on.
And all his horsemen and all his chariots, and became lord of his cities, and came unto Ecbatane, and took the towers, and spoiled the streets thereof, and turned the beauty thereof into shame.
Now, Ecbatane, if you look on the map, we read about Ecbatane, we read about, you can see on the right-hand side right there, Ecbatane, and Shusha is below that. This was the Persian and Mede, and we read about that where? Where do we read about which kingdom? The Persian Media Empire. Coincidentally, it was the Persian Media Empire that took down Babylon later on. All right, we're not going to get there now. Let's read on.
Verse 15. He took also Arphaxad in the mountains of Ragau, and smote him through with his darts, and destroyed him utterly that day. So he returned afterward to Nineveh, both he and all his company, of sundry nations, being a very great multitude of men of war. And there he took his ease, and banqueted, both he and his army, 120 days.
Test.
Yeah, okay, 120 days. Now watch, read on.
Chapter 2, verse 1. And in the 18th year, the 22nd day of the first month, there was talk in the house of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, that he should, as he said, avenge himself on all the earth. So he called unto him all his officers and all his nobles, and communicated with them his secret counsel, and concluded the afflicting of the whole earth out of his own mouth. Then they decreed to destroy all flesh that did not obey the commandment of his mouth. And when he had ended his counsel, Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, called Holofernes, the chief captain of his army, which was next unto him, and said unto him, Thus saith the great king, the Lord of the whole earth, Behold, thou shalt go forth from my presence, and take with thee men that trust in their own strength, of footmen 120,000, and the number of horses with their riders 12,000.
Okay, I don't want to keep on reading on that. Let's jump on down to chapter 4, verse 1. So now when you read on, you hear all those places that he's defeating them. Now we're going to get to Jerusalem.
Judah, chapter 4, verse 1. Now the children of Israel that dwelt in Judea heard all that Holofernes, the chief captain of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, had done to the nations, and after what manner he had spoiled all their temples, and brought them to naught. Therefore they were exceedingly afraid of him, and were troubled for Jerusalem, and for the temple of the Lord their God. For they were newly returned from the captivity, and all the people of Judea were lately gathered together, and the vessels, and the altar, and the house were sanctified after the profanation. Therefore they sent into all the coasts of Samaria and the villages, and to Beth Horon, and Belman, and Jericho, and to Chobah, and Asura, and to the valley of Salem, and possessed themselves beforehand of all the tops of the high mountains, and fortified the villages that were in them, and laid up victuals for the provision of war, for their fields were of late reaped. And Joachim, the high priest, which was in those days in Jerusalem, wrote to them that dwelt in Bethulia and Betosemestem, which is over against Esdraelon, toward the open country, near to Dothaim, charging them to keep the passages of the hill country. For by them there was an entrance into Judea, and it was easy to stop them that would come up, because the passage was straight, for 2 men at the most. And
Okay,
the children.
So let's stop there. So I'm gonna jump all. I'm not gonna do it justice. I'll revisit this again if life lasts next week. But I'm gonna jump to chapter 14 and just give you the end of this part of it, so I can go back into Kings. Okay. So what happened was he was killed. Holofernes, right? Jump on down to Judith 14, verse 1.
Judith chapter 14 and verse 1. Then said Judith unto them, Hear me now, my brethren, and take this head and hang it upon the highest place of your walls. And so soon as the morning shall appear, and the sun shall come forth upon the earth, take ye every one his weapons, and go forth, every valiant man out of the city, and set ye a captain over them, as though you would go down into the field toward the watch of the Assyrians.
Read on.
But go not down. Then they shall take their armor, and shall go into their camp, and raise up the captains of the army of Assur, and they shall run to the tent of Holofernes, but shall not find him. Then fear shall fall upon them, and they shall flee before your face.
So we stop right there. And now, what happened? They're going to look for him. They're going to find out he's dead. This word is going to get back to Nebuchadnezzar. Now Nebuchadnezzar is going to say, okay, now, I'm coming down now, and I'm coming with an army. 2 Kings 24. Nope. Bear with me. And so come, when so come, you remain, the people remain. Just bear with me. So, Jeremiah 25. Jeremiah 25, start with verse 1.
Jeremiah chapter 25 and verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, that was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, the which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Judah.
What verse? I'm lost now. I'm my place.
I'm in verse 2 now.
Read the last part of 1.
Yes, sir. That was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon.
Okay, now this is his 1st year. Nebuchadnezzar becoming the king of Babylon. Read on.
The which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Judah and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, From the 13th year of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, even unto this day, that is the 23rd year, the word of the Lord have come unto me, and I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but ye have not hearkened. And the Lord hath sent unto you all his servants, the prophets, rising early and sending them, but ye have not hearkened, nor inclined your ear to hear. They said, Turn ye again now every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your doings, and dwell in the land that the Lord hath given unto you.
Which were the prophets that told them that? Turn from your evil way and dwell in the land. Name a prophet that told them that. Now, Babylon is coming down now. So who warned them before Babylon to turn from their evil ways? Say it. Just say it. Isaiah, where? Isaiah 44. Go before that. Isaiah 1.
Verse
1
16.
and, I don't know what verse it is. But
Verse 16.
read it.
Isaiah chapter 1, verse 16. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Come now and let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If ye be willing and obedient, ye shall eat the good of the land. But if ye refuse and rebel.
But if you what?
Refuse and rebel. Ye shall be devoured with the sword.
He said, but if you refuse and rebel, you're going to be devoured with the sword. Read on.
For the mouth of the Lord has spoken.
He says, listen, judgment will come. And that's what we're reading about. Let's go back to 25.
Jeremiah chapter 25 and verse 5. They said, turn ye again now, every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your doings, and dwell in the land that the Lord hath given unto you, and to your fathers forever and ever. And go not after other gods to serve them, and to worship them, and provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands, and I will do you no hurt.
And I will do you no hurt. Read on.
Yet ye have not hearkened unto me, saith the Lord, that ye might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands, to your own hurt.
Read on.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, because ye have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment, and an hissing, and perpetual desolation.
So they told him that from listen, or God is going to judge you. And when Hezekiah showed Baladan everything he had, he said, surely they're going to come and take everything. They never changed. They always had the opportunity. That's why in these last days, the Most High, he's a long-suffering power. But when judgment comes, there's no turning back. There'll be that great gulf fixed. There's no fixing at that point. Therefore, what happened? Let's go to Jeremiah 28. Okay? Jeremiah 28, verse 14.
Jeremiah chapter 28 and verse 14. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, I have put a yoke of iron upon the neck of all these nations, that they may serve Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and they shall serve him. And I have given him the beasts of the field also.
So he says, I gave Nebuchadnezzar to rule over you. He said, I put a yoke upon the neck of them, right? So somebody, tell me a little bit about Nebuchadnezzar. Let me hear. Where do we read about Nebuchadnezzar outside of Isaiah? There's only two hands, the same two hands. Oh, no, forget. I don't want. Let me get some of these young men, black shirts. Pick one. Just pick somebody. Tell me a little bit about Nebuchadnezzar.
Hey, Shalom, Bishop, Most High Christ bless.
Most High Christ bless.
In the book of Daniel, you read about Nebuchadnezzar.
Okay, tell me about him. Tell me something.
That's all I got on him.
Okay, well, what you said was right. Okay, somebody else.
I think in Shalom Leadership, Most High Christ bless. I know one thing. He thought he was God, and he had to be humbled.
Okay, that's good.
So that's one thing I do know about Nebuchadnezzar.
All right, somebody else. You, yeah.
Yes, sir. King Nebuchadnezzar, he had dreams, and then he commanded his servants or the wise men of his kingdom to interpret the dream. No one could do it. Daniel interpreted the dream, and it happened to be the kingdoms, the ruling empires of the earth. And like the brother said, King Nebuchadnezzar thought he was God, so he had to be humbled. The Lord made him eat grass like an ox.
Very good.
Turned him, I think he turned into like a reptile type thing, something like that.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
he was smitten with madness. Very good. Very good. Okay, so with Nebuchadnezzar, one thing I wanted to get out of it was that he tried to get the people to change what they believe, their religion, their ways of us. I'm talking. I don't give a damn about everybody else. Us to change. Similar to Babylon today, they want you to incorporate and associate. Same way with ancient Greeks. Same thing. Hellenize you. All right. That was a problem. It was a problem for Nebuchadnezzar. It was a problem for ancient Greek, and it'll be a problem for today. In these times, it will implode. And I'm gonna go through this, Lord, life last, when I go into Babylon in depth. All right, but let's real quick. We're gonna read a couple things real quick. All right. Let's go to the book of Baruch. I'm gonna jump around a little bit here and finish this class off. Book of Baruch. I want you to read Baruch 1, verse 1.
Baruch chapter 1 and verse 1. And these are the words of the book which Baruch the son of Neriah, the son of Messias, the son of Zedekias, the son of Asadias, the son of Shelkias, wrote in Babylon in the 5th year and in the 7th day of the month, what time as the Chaldeans took Jerusalem and burnt it with fire.
It says, and these are the words of the book of Baruch, the son of Neriah, the son of Maaseiah, the son of Zedekias, the son of Asadias, the son of Chelcias, wrote in Babylon. Now listen what it says here. In the 5th year and the 7th day of the month, what time as the Chaldeans took Jerusalem and burnt it with fire. So it was a 5th year, it was a 5-year siege to take them down. In that 5 years, what was happening in Jerusalem? Right there.
They was cutting off their food and water supply, so they were starving the people out.
Very good. Very good. It was cutting off their food and water supply. Now read on.
Verse 3. And Baruch did read the words of this book in the hearing of Jeconiah, the son of Joachim, king of Judah, and in the ears of all the people that came to hear the book, and in the hearing of the nobles, and of the king's sons, and in the hearing of the elders, and of all the people, from the lowest unto the highest, even of all them that dwelt at Babylon by the river Sud.
So he began to read everything that was written, tell them what was happening, and he said, even those that dwelt in Babylon by the river Sud. Read on.
Whereupon they wept, fasted, and prayed before the Lord. They made also a collection of money according to every man's power.
So now while they was there by the river, they wept when they heard what was happening, the fall of Jerusalem, right? Psalms 137. Psalms 137 is literal, is prophetic. Psalms 137, start with verse 1.
Psalms chapter 137 and verse 1. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion.
We wept. What was one of the rivers they sat down? The river Sud. It says, and they wept when they remembered Zion. Now remember, this is David writing this song or this psalm. He was prophesying, knowing God put the spirit in him to know. So I'm saying for all you men out there that are making music, you sisters that are making music, if the spirit is on you, you are prophesying. Bring out music and condemn this kingdom in your songs. Call on the Lord, sing and call on the Lord to come and deliver us. So anyway, let's read on.
Verse 2. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof.
In the midst of where? The willows were at the river's end, River Sud. And when we was by the River Sud, we were doing what? It said, we what? We was weeping, right? That's why it's called a weeping willow, first of all. All right? And it said, we hanged our harps on it. Right? Why do we hang our harps there? Let's read on.
For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song.
One word, they want us to coon. But we were weeping because when we played the harps, we played it for what? For the Lord, for joy. First Chronicles 15.
First Chronicles chapter 15, verse 16. And David spake to the chief of the Levites to appoint their brethren to be the singers with instruments of music, psalteries, and harps, and cymbals, sounding by lifting up the voice with joy.
We lift up a voice with joy because we were singing to God. So now we're by the river Sud, and there's another river, Chebar. We're going to read that. Maybe you got it today. But we hung our harps because we didn't want to sing. We were in captivity now. We heard the destruction of Jerusalem. Some of us escaped, like Daniel, Baruch, Ezekiel. But there's many of them people that died, that stayed back. Jeremiah, which he never came to Babylon, he stayed back. They let him go. But the whole point was, when we heard that it finally fell, guess what? We wept when we remembered Zion. So read.
Go back to Psalms?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Psalms chapter 137 and verse 3. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?
How shall we sing what?
How shall we sing the Lord's song?
That's why you know when we sang to the Lord. Those were the music we made. That's what we danced to and partied to. Songs where we glorify God. When we used in slavery, what we used to sing? Songs, sweet, swing down. What do you Judites singing? Yeah, you know. You all learned that. You all learned that in church. Come on, sing this. Who can sing it? You know, when the saints come marching in, those are the songs we sang to what? To lift our spirits up, so we know one day there's a redemption from this. But watch, they required of us a song, right? Read on.
How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?
What land for us? Babylon. What land is this today? How can we sing these songs in a strange land? You know, we forgot that when we made music and songs, it was to the Lord. Why do we make songs now? You remind me of a Jeep. Perk, you know. Wow. I shouldn't even laugh. That's not even funny, but damn, we fell. Now read what it says. Read on.
Verse 5. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth.
So what is he saying? Okay. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, which prophet spoke similar to that? I don't know how, you know, Jeremiah 17, forget, I don't have an energy chart for you. I don't know how to ask no questions. Jeremiah 17. What does it say in Jeremiah 17? Wasn't Jeremiah during the time of the Babylonians falling? Us falling to the Babylonians? Jeremiah 17, what does it say? Verse 4.
Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not.
So it says, even thou and thyself shalt discontinue from the heritage. Thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger which shall burn forever. So we will discontinue from a heritage. What is our heritage? The laws of the laws, right? Sirach, whatever. Where's that at?
17:11.
Say it again. Of which book? Somebody read it.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 17, verse 11. Beside this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for an heritage.
Right. The laws was for a life for heritage. I know I brutalize it, but you know what I mean. So, let's go back.
Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5.
I don't need it more. Back to Psalms.
Yes, sir. Psalm chapter 137 and verse 5. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth.
What is he saying here about his hand cunning? Somebody look at it. What does it mean, cunning, your hand cunning? What does that mean? Your hand what? Somebody said it. Skill, right? What is he trying to say? Let my hand. What is he trying to say?
He's trying to say, let my hand forget how to play music and play instruments.
And my tongue what?
And my tongue cleave to my mouth so we wouldn't be singing no more.
We won't sing foolishness.
Right.
That's what he's talking about. That I won't be able to scribe and write foolishness like Percocet or whatever you guys say. Let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth, because if I forget Jerusalem, I'm disconnected from my heritage. I'm disconnected from the laws. What's going to come out of my mouth is going to be everything foul. Thus, these niggas sing today. Mumble rap. Okay, boy. Can't go far down this rabbit hole right now. Go back to Baruch. And I'm going to wrap it up right here. I'll pick up, Lord will, next week, if life laugh is permitting, and finish off Babylonians. So back in the book of Baruch.
Yes, sir. We stopped at verse 7.
They wept. Read verse 6.
Yes, sir. Baruch chapter 1 and verse 6. They made also a collection of money according to every man's power.
So they made a collection of money according to every man's power. So let me explain something about we was in slavery here, right? We was carried as slaves. Here's the thing about slavery. A lot of times what happens, people get, especially here, people get fooled and thinking they're not into slavery because they don't have a yoke of iron or because you got a job. They worked in Babylon. They had jobs. You said, build ye houses, plant ye vineyards. You could be in slavery. But how do you know when you're in slavery, even though you got jobs? How do you know that you're in slavery, even though you have a job? Okay, before I say it, in the corner.
They take the money from you before you get your paycheck. You got to wait for your paycheck. They tax you before you can
Okay,
get
there
paid.
we go. There we go. Who said that? Which prophet said that?
Oh, that's
We're in the book right now.
That's Baruch 4,
There we go.
3 and 8.
Let's go.
Shalom leadership.
Very good.
Baruch chapter 3 verse 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments.
That's how you know we're in captivity, when you're subject to payments. When you got to pay. Let me do Deuteronomy 28, when it says, for the wants of all things. When you got to pay, you don't have to have a chain on your neck. You are a slave. You're in captivity. So when Jeremiah was lamenting about what was happening to us, we were subject to payments then too. Lamentations 5 and 4. Read it.
Lamentations chapter 5 and verse 4. We have drunken our water for money.
Listen, you got to pay for water. Your water, you are in captivity. We have no control of anything. All right? Back to Baruch.
Baruch chapter 1 and verse 6. They made also a collection of money according to every man's power. And they sent it to Jerusalem unto Joachim, the high priest, the son of Chelcias, son of Salom, and to the priests, and to all the people which were found with him at Jerusalem. At the same time, when he received the vessels of the house of the Lord that were carried out of the temple, to return them into the land of Judah, the 10th day of the month Sivan, namely silver vessels, which Zedekias, the son of Josias, king of Judah, had made.
Right. So we was able to get some of the silver vessels back from them. More likely we had to pay for it. He wasn't giving you for what? Read on.
After that, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away Jeconias, and the princes, and the captives, and the mighty men, and the people of the land from Jerusalem, and brought them unto Babylon.
And that's what we're going to touch upon next week. We're going to go back into Jeremiah, into if it be the Lord's will, Second Chronicles, into Second Kings, and we're going to begin to pick apart this stuff and deal with it. Real quick, let's go back to Psalms 137 because I never finished it.
Psalms chapter 137,
verse 7.
And verse 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof.
So he says, remember the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, destroy it, even to the foundation of thereof. Who was Edom saying that to? To Nebuchadnezzar. Destroy it. They lend their hand. They joined Nebuchadnezzar in destroying. And God marked that. But guess what? What strikes me when I read this? This is David writing the Psalms long before it happened. He prophesied. Again, like I said, in your music, when you prophesy the fall of America, you prophesying in those songs. That's a spirit on you God has given you. Now, don't be known just for a rapper or a singer. You better be hitting the streets. But just to say, if the spirit is on you, you talking about the fall of America, that's God is inspiring your words. All right, let's read on.
Verse 8. O daughter of Babylon.
Now look, that's why I said it's prophetic, because now he's saying, O daughter of Babylon. He's not talking about ancient Babylon. He's talking about who? We just read it, Edom. He's referred to him as Babylon also. Read on.
O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us.
So, and that shall come to pass. He says, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. You are going to fall, Babylon. America, you're going to fall. And there's nothing you can do about it. You give mosquito bites or whatever you want to do. It does not change what's going to happen to you. You're going to fall. How's class got into Esau? Read on.
Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us.
He says, happy shall he be that will reward thee as you served us. Read on.
Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stone.
The same way you didn't show mercy to the old or young, Deuteronomy 28 speaks about it, the same way happy shall he be that taketh and dashes your little ones against the stones. So with that, I pray today's class was edifying. You got something. You should know the Assyrian captivity thoroughly. And if life lasts, we'll touch on Babylon and the Persians. All right? Shalom.